Friday, November 6th, and I thought it would be the right thing to do to replay my Baron Wolman episode that was recorded 4 years ago. This is originally Let There Be Talk episode number 282. I sat down with Baron on the Sunset Strip at his photography show and talked about his entire history of shooting photos. If you've been listening to this show for a long time, you know I absolutely love rock photography. I've featured a lot of these guys, and I felt like they were the heroes of rock and R&B, soul, hip-hop, whatever. I feel like they're the heroes out there documenting this stuff pre-internet. You know, back when you didn't have the internet just to go look at your favorite people. You had to get a magazine. And most of the time that was probably Rolling Stone magazine. And you would open it up and read an article and look at the photos, and there they were, your idols, your heroes. And Baron was one of the originals. He was the first photographer for Rolling Stone magazine back in the 60s. He was a friend of mine. He was an amazing free spirit, just a burst of creativity. This man, just a beautiful human. And I'm so happy I got to spend some time with him over the years, and I just felt I should replay this episode just because he's such a great man. He passed away on Monday, 83 years old, and wow. Go to his Instagram, look at his body of work, buy one of his great photo books of Hendrix or anybody else. He did the Rolling Stone years, all these great photos. But most of all, he shot my favorite concerts, the Day on the Greens in Oakland. So here it is. I'm going to miss you, Baron, big time. I will always think about you when I look at these photos on my wall. And I love you, man. Here it is. The original episode, number 282, Baron Wolman. Welcome to Let There Be Talk. Another episode with my favorite rock photographer.
Hey, Dean, come on. You must have a bunch of favorites.
Nope. No, you know you're my favorite. Introduce yourself.
Okay, I'm Baron Wolman, and we met through Day on the Green, the best series of rock and roll concerts ever in the world.
I talk about it so much on this show that I think people are probably like, man, shut the fuck up. But I don't think they understand, and it doesn't get enough glory, the magnitude of these shows. The lineups, you know, and like $8.
Well, here's what, $8. It was $12 for the Stones and Carlos Santana, by the way.
Yeah, $12.
Yeah, $12.50. But what you do is you send people to Wikipedia. You click on Day on the Green on Wikipedia, and it gives you every year, every concert, every lineup. And I'm telling you, you look at that thing, and it's mind-blowing. You had no idea. And I was a lazy asshole because I could have gone to every one of them free and shot pictures.
Yeah.
But that meant I had to miss NFL football. I had to drive from Mill Valley to Oakland. I had to do all the stuff I didn't want to do. But now I look back, I wish I hadn't been so damn lazy, you know, because I would have shot some phenomenal acts.
Okay, so what this was is Bill Graham would take the Oakland Coliseum where the A's play. Not the fucking indoors where the Warriors play. Not 15,000. I'm talking 65,000 in the baseball park. And what he would do, he had a vision to put on these massive concerts. And no one was doing this. And what he wanted was, he didn't want it just to be
just a stage on a baseball field. He had an idea of putting on theater, and he wanted the stage sets to look like some kind of theme. So this guy, Dennis Larkin, our mutual friend, started painting these things. And so one of them was, let's say, Frampton. It was a castle.
Right.
Whole stage was a castle.
And then Zeppelin, they actually had a Zeppelin flying overhead.
On the sides, it had like the Stonehenge. Yeah.
Is that what it was?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
Okay, and on Mick Jagger's birthday...
The lips.
They did the famous Stones lips. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean,
and then like the Boston was the ship.
Yep.
You know? And so as a kid... When I would roll in there, here's one I saw. Lineup was Cheap Trick, AC/DC, Journey with Steve Perry just joined, Blue Oyster Cult, Ted Nugent. Okay, that's in 78.
That was one of my absolute favorite concerts. That's the only time I photographed AC/DC. I didn't know what to expect because I hadn't heard him or seen him, and Bon Scott was still alive.
Yep.
And he was marching all you know, what's
Angus.
Angus is like, I've never seen a guy roll on the floor and play on a guitar. And he was playing the guitar on his back, and I'm shooting away thinking, this guy is crazy. What's going on here, you know?
And he's like 17.
Exactly.
You know, and your photos, I own those. They're in my house, of Angus on the ground and the famous Bond where he's looking to the right. Yeah. Man, come on. Your photos, when I first saw them, a couple times... Of course, I've been wanting to do a documentary on Dan the Green all my life, and one day I'll get money and I'll do it, you know? But I was doing some research, and I remember clicking and seeing this one that's here. We're at a gallery here, and what's the name of the gallery again?
Mr. Music Head on Sunset Boulevard in L.A., right across from Guitar Center, so musicians are in and out all the time.
Amazing photos in here. But the one you have hanging across here, first, you know, I'm obsessed with Dan the Green. So first I see this photo, and it's the one of Jimmy Page's guitars. And I thought right away, this photographer is genius, because that would be the photo I would take immediately. Jimmy had all his guitars up on stage. They weren't on stage yet. They bring them all up. He's got the D18 Martin, the three Les Pauls, the two Sunburst and the red one, the Dan Electro, and then the double neck. And as soon as I saw that, I said, who the fuck shot this? I start looking for you, and I find you.
That's, you know, Jimmy calls that his heavy artillery.
Yeah.
He said, Baron, you got my heavy artillery in that shot.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So then I go down a rabbit hole. It's like a Sunday night at my house, thank God for the internet. And I start looking at your photos, and I'm like, this guy shot all the Dan the Greens. This is the dude right here. And you were very wise where you would get shots, there's one in your book here, from an aerial. Now, were you in a helicopter?
Yeah, I was in a helicopter. Because Bill Graham said, look, you know, nobody's ever seen anything like this. I want to know, because I was shooting aerials anyhow in those days. and I think it was the Frampton one.
It was. I saw it in the book.
Yeah, and I got up there, because even I had been at Woodstock, so I'd seen big crowds, but I'd never seen any of these big stadium shows. And we just circled around and I guess kept shooting. And he, you know, for Bill, who was the ultimate promoter.
Ultimate.
I mean, the best concert promoter ever, I think.
No one touches him.
No one touched him. But he was smart to get a picture from overhead. So then he could say, see what we're doing here, man? You know?
Yeah. You know, my entire life is because of rock and roll, I say. Everything I've gotten in life is because of my love of rock and roll, playing rock and roll, and being around rock and roll. And I would say half of that would have to do with Dan the Greens, because that's really where I learned what concerts were about, what a concert promoter was, what different styles of acts were, what showmanship was, and everything about rock I learned out of Dan the Green and Bill.
Well, you know, it's interesting you say that, because people say, you know, to me, who's your favorite person to shoot? And what I try to explain to them, I'm talking about shooting live concerts and stuff, I said, it's not only about how good a musician the guy is or the woman is, it's how much of a showman they are. You look at Jimi Hendrix, who was an extraordinary musician. He wrote beautiful music, but he knew how to entertain. He knew how to get up on the stage and put on something. For a photographer. It's like shooting fish in a fishbowl, because you could not take a bad picture. Now, Jerry Garcia, on the other hand, okay, you get one great shot because Jerry's face is fabulous. He stands there the whole time in front of the microphone and plays guitar and never moves. Same thing with Jim Morrison. Jim Morrison just grabs the microphone, starts making love to it. You've seen that picture time and time again. I want somebody, look at Jimmy, what he did. I mean, look at these pictures. They're incredible.
I really think, as much as I love rock photography, I wanted to stick to I only wanted to collect yours and Dan the Green's, your Dan the Green's, because to me, we're in a huge studio of rock photos, and they're all fantastic, but the juxtapose of daytime and rock is so weird to me, because rock is such a dark, dark thing. And it's all about, going out at night, getting high, seeing some music, some lighting and shit. To see these people in a baseball field, which is totally the opposite of rock, jocks, and to see how they could light up, from the back of the fucking Coliseum.
That's true.
And light it up, I like this. There's you didn't shoot this one, but there's an Elton John here. It's at Dodger Stadium, I believe. And when you just look at that, it shows how massive rock was at one time. Robin Trower, those guys, they would sell out those Dan the Greens.
At first, I used to like to shoot the small, intimate concerts. There was a concert in Marin County, Big Brother and the Holding Company in Janus, and afterwards you could go up and get autographs, hang out with them. I really liked that. And then it soon became, because people loved rock, like you said, more and more people were coming to rock. Graham went into the Fillmore, then he went into Winterland, and then he did this thing at Day on the Green. And I'd go down into the crowd and I'd say, hey man, you can't fucking see the stage from where you are. You can hear it because he's got a great sound system. This is not very intimate. Why are you here? He said, and they all said, because it's community, because our friends are here, because we all love music and we want to be together and experience the music together. And so it became more of a social thing, as much a social thing as it was a musical thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. There was nothing more summer than opening up the Pink section, and the front page would be like, Dan the Green 1. And you knew summer was here. You're like, holy shit, who's going to play Dan the Green 2? There was no internet or anything. You had to get that date book and wait. And then when it was there, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe it. Look at it. It's Zeppelin. You know what I mean? Like, wow.
Or Stones and Carlos Santana.
And Eddie Money.
And Peter Tosh. Come on, 1250.
Yeah.
Give me a break, man.
Yeah.
I know, it was really something else. But, my problem, and it still is in a way, is taking pictures of musicians is reflecting on the art of somebody else. Now, I try to take the best picture I can because I can't play music, and I love the musicians for what they do and what they give me. But it's strange to take a picture of somebody who's actually creating, and all I'm doing is snapping a damn shutter, Now, people say, oh, well, that's not what you can't be. You shouldn't be so hard on yourself because your pictures really reflect something special about it. That's true, but I got to tell you, Henry Diltz, the photographer, he was a musician first, and then he became a photographer. So he's sitting around, living in Laurel Canyon, with all the musicians. He knows the language because he plays.
Right.
So I didn't know the language, and I had to come up with some device, to get the musicians to relax and trust me, because for a photographer, it's all about trust, right?
Yep.
And until they trusted you, ain't going to give you anything. They're like, when am I going to get out here? Let me out here. Take the picture and let me get out here. But if you get a dialogue going, show them that you're a human being, they relax and you get your good pictures. Okay, that was my technique. But man, if you're a musician,
Yeah.
you're already there.
That's why this show, I think, does so good, because I played music for 25 years. So when I have the musician on right away, I talk a different language than a normal guy interviewing. So they right away, they go, this guy's talking about P90s on a Les Paul special? How the fuck does he know that? Then they know it's a magic juju, and they start to open up. You're
Okay,
right.
imagine you couldn't do that.
Yeah.
That was the position I was in.
Right.
I tell you, I sweated. My balls were sweating every time I went out to shoot it. Shoot it. Not a concert, because I can
Yeah,
do
of
good
course,
on a
the
concert.
studio.
But a studio shot or over to the person's house. I remember going up here, because we're in L.A., going up into Laurel Canyon over to Joni Mitchell's house. Now, you could have a conversation with if you knew nothing about her, and I didn't know nearly enough about her, what a great poet she is.
Right.
I mean, the lyrics of her songs are holy. Anyhow, so we're sitting around drinking tea, talking about all the problems of the world, and I'd say, hey, hold that pose, Joni, let me get a picture of you.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's rare.
What now? Let's give a little background on you. I don't want to get stuck on Day in the Green, but we'll come back to that, because I do want to talk about that Zeppelin day. Where are you from?
Well, originally I'm from Ohio, Midwest. Couldn't wait to get out. Although now the Midwest is cool. Every place is cool now, because with the internet and TV and all that, you can live anywhere. Good food. There's always something about.
Yeah, I always say, where do the hipsters hang out, and where's a record store?
That's exactly
And then
what
you
I
go,
do.
there's good coffee, there's going to be some killer food,
Yeah, in every town.
Every town now.
Yeah, but back in the day I left, So I left Ohio, and then I went to Chicago to go to college, and then I ended up in Berlin with a military as a counterintelligence agent, a counter spy, and I was there when the wall went up.
Wow.
So then I took some pictures of the wall going up, and I wrote a story about it, because photography was always my hobby. I could get girls to get naked with a camera, I mean, really, if you're not going to be a lead guitarist, the next best thing is know how to use your camera, right? But anyhow, so I was there, and I took pictures of the wall going up, wrote a story.
What year was that?
61.
61, the wall goes up.
It goes up, and
You're
I'm
in
there.
Berlin. Are you tripping out? Like, what the hell is going on here?
Well, I thought it was the beginning of World War III.
Right.
So I sent the story and the pictures in my hometown newspaper. Mind you, I'm just a hobbyist at this point. And they ran all the pictures and the entire story, sent me a check for $50, which in 61 was probably worth $300 or $400 or $500 today, right? I said, hey, that's my hobby, and I'm getting paid for it. You know what? As of today, I'm a professional.
That's
That's
great.
when I decided to become a professional photographer.
What's your first camera, and how do you learn to shoot? Because I've always wanted to shoot, and of course everybody shoots digital now, but I always wanted to shoot, and I had always a shit camera on me at every show. I still got my photos. Matter of fact, I was showing a singer a couple days ago some photos I took of him in '84 at the Whiskey, and it blew his mind. He was like, I can't believe you have these. Also, I shot AC/DC on the back and Black Tour. I would sneak it down my crotch,
Yeah, because they didn't want you to bring them in.
No, I had the disc camera. Remember
Yeah.
that shit
Oh,
thing?
yeah. Oh,
it had
yeah.
like 14 little actual negatives on a disc.
Weren't those
Kodak disc.
stereo? A stereo
They
disc?
had that one, but that's right. Then later they had a 3D one. Remember?
Yeah,
You could
that's-
turn the lens, and you could do stereo or you could do 3D.
Yeah.
But mine was the first one.
Okay.
But it was primo because it was slim. You could sneak it in. I took it everywhere with me, everywhere. But my point is, you shoot some photos of the Berlin Wall. What is your first camera? How do you learn to shoot? Because it's weird. I don't understand all the iOS.
No. Listen. Well, now it's easier because the camera does all the work for you. And here's the deal. When I was growing up, I looked around. The world was so fucking chaotic. There's so much noise going on. I mean, I couldn't make sense of what was happening. I picked up the camera. A friend of mine had one. I picked up the camera. I looked through the viewfinder, and I could move the frame around there until what I saw made sense and quieted the noise. That's what I tell people.
It was
And that-
peaceful for you.
Peaceful. And that's the way that was my therapy, man. And that's what you were doing with your camera. You were moving that thing around until what you saw made sense for you. That's all it's about. The technical part, was interesting at the time because I thought, well, you had to learn about the f-stop and you had to learn about the shutter speed and the ASA, ISO, you know, all that stuff. But that was beside the point. That was just how to learn to use your machine. The thing was, what do you see? What do you see through the viewfinder? Does it tell the story that you feel inside? If you can get to that point, clearly you did because the guy responded to your pictures. That's all photography. That's what photography is all about.
Did you have any early influences? Of course, last week I was in New York. I went to the Met and saw Diane Arbus's photos. I've seen them before. I went to her full exhibit. But were you into people, once you realize I'm going to be a photographer, do you start studying it?
You mean formally studying it?
I mean, like, you know, you couldn't go online and look at people's styles and stuff, but are you like, well, I want to take photos?
No, what I did, I got a bunch of books. You know, I'd say, oh, that guy, I like how he's shooting, man. Like Richard Avedon and Irving Penn. I just love their style. So when I was at Rolling Stone, they said, okay, we're going to do a cover story, an issue on the Grateful Dead. How do you want to shoot it? And I used the inspiration that I got from Richard Avedon. I set up a great background, one light. That's the way he used to shoot, where you just let the person be there and be themselves, and you shoot the picture.
One light behind you or on them?
One light behind me, kind of down on him. It's pretty simple lighting.
Yeah.
With an umbrella, you know, so it's soft lighting.
Of course.
So these guys responded to that. For example, Jerry Garcia gets up there. The first time ever, he waves his hand and he shows the world that he's missing part of his finger.
It's an iconic photo. It's sitting across from us right now.
Yeah,
and before that, no one knew that he had that stub.
Because he hid it under, it was his picking finger and you didn't have to show it. But here, look at him. He's smiling. He's happy because of me and because of the simplicity of the studio. And hey, I'm a good guy. You know, I don't confront these people. Now, Pigpen, in the same thing. He comes in there, he's got a holster on, it's got bullets, and he's packing heat.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, I don't know, does this guy want to kill me or what? You know, I think I'm going to take this picture as quick as I can. See you, Pigpen. Turns out he's a really gentle, nice guy. Was a really gentle, nice guy, right? But my first assignment for Rolling Stone.
Well, how do you get working with Rolling Stone? Do they see your story on the wall?
No. Here's what happened. I was working in San Francisco as a photographer, but for anybody who'd hire me. And Wenner we had worked for some of the same organizations. He was 21, I was 30, you know. He was still at Cal Berkeley.
What neighborhood you living in San Francisco?
Haight-Ashbury,
yeah, baby.
Now, here's what happened.
What
I was
street?
living down here in L.A.
Okay.
I got married down here to a ballet dancer.
In the 60s?
In the 60s. And the smog got to me. The driving, even back then, drove me crazy. I hate the driving. And so we said, okay, and she was from San Francisco. She wanted to dance in the San Francisco Ballet. So we decided, okay, we're going up. Take my little VW bug. We drove north. And we drove around and he said, okay, where do we want to live? Because we didn't know at the time. And we drove looking for people that look like us.
Yeah.
Where do you think we found them?
Yeah.
Haight-Ashbury.
So you're a hippie at the time?
Well, I'm not. I'm on the edge of hippiness.
And what are you listening to rock music at then? And who are you listening to?
Oh man, I don't remember.
Right,
I
gotcha.
don't remember. I mean, I liked music. I liked all kinds of music from classical to rock.
Right.
And depending on my mood, that's what I would choose. But it wasn't so much. Listen, we moved into the Haight because people look like us, and we knew we'd have a family there. Not because of the music. The music actually came later.
Yeah.
They started doing free concerts in the park. They started doing, they'd get a flatbed truck, roll it up, get a generator, and start playing music, and then people, they'd hear it, and it's like, oh, they're following, what was it? I forget, who's that famous mythical guy, and they all followed him, and they'd just go to the Panhandle in the park,
yeah,
and there Quicksilver would be playing.
Wow.
And they'd play for a couple hours, and then they'd say that was it, and people would go away, So, and then my wife's ex-wife's other ballet dancers, one of them was married to a guy in, I got to think of the name of that band. It's one of the earlier San Francisco bands. So, I'm going taking pictures of them. Damn, I'll think of it. So pretty soon I see these bands all around. I see the people responding to the bands, and I'm starting taking pictures of that. So Winter had seen some of those. Anyhow, I called him up one day. Mills College, which was a girls' school at the time, women's school, they were one of my clients, and they were very hip about music. They had the hippest music department ever.
Wow.
And they were the first people to take, in the university itself, to take electronic music seriously. They put on a conference on rock and roll because they saw what was going on.
Wow.
And on the panel, Bill Graham, Phil Spector,
Yeah.
Ralph Gleason,
Wow.
Big Daddy Tom Donahue, if you remember him, who started the first the first real FM music station.
Wow.
Everybody was talking about rock and roll. Airplane played a set. There was a light show and all that stuff. So I'm talking to Winter, who I went with. He was writing the article, and I was taking pictures. And he starts telling me about this idea that they have for a publication, he and Ralph Gleason.
Right.
For not a trade publication, but something for us, for the people, the musicians.
Hang out on the streets.
Yeah, and the real people, the people who love music, listen to it and play it. He said, what do you think? I said, that sounds like a pretty good idea, Jan. Yeah. He said, hey, man, we're going to need a photographer. You want to be the photographer?
Wow.
Just like that.
Yeah.
I said, hey, yeah, I'll be the photographer. Then he says to me, hey, okay, you got 10 grand to invest? And I said, Jan, look, I don't have that kind of money to invest. However, I'll shoot for free. You just pay for film and processing. I'll shoot for free. In return, you give me some stock in the company. He said, fine, that's a deal. He said, there was no company. He said, yes. I said, yes. Right?
Yeah.
And then, I don't know how it was that I came to say this, but I said, one more thing. I own all the pictures. You can use them any way you want to free, but I own them. He said, hey, no problem, man.
Phew, man.
Smartest thing I ever did in my life.
Wow.
That's why we're having this show right now.
Right, man.
Yeah.
I mean, and also, we got to think back to it's so funny to think what these photos are worth now, and also have made it so you didn't ever have to get a real job. But to think about, if they owned them, you would just be done, because they would be like, sorry, those are ours. You can't sell those,
Right.
and you're like, wait, I shot them free,
Yeah, no, it worked out really well, and I feel blessed. I really am. I'm privileged to have been there then, to have been there at the beginning of that magazine, which is iconic now, which is next year is going to be the 50th anniversary.
Insane.
50th year that they've been publishing. People say, and the Rolling Stone isn't like it was. I said, you tell me what is now is like what it was in 1967.
Also, you tell me about something that was made in 67 that's still around.
Exactly.
You tell me that.
Quality.
Quality.
Yeah.
I mean, Cream's gone. Hit Parader's gone. Circus is gone. R.I.P is gone. Spin is barely hanging on. Rolling Stone, whatever you say. Who's making magazines these days, and they're still around?
Yeah, I mean, the one thing about it, I think one of the reasons that Jan wanted to start Rolling Stone, it didn't even have a name at the time, but he looked over at the UK, and they had Melody Maker, New Musical Express. They had publications that were doing. He was thinking, why don't we have something like that?
Right.
And that was where he got his inspiration, and why. And he was right. He was spot on. And for me, what was really cool was because there was no internet, there was no music video, there was no MTV, there was nothing.
There was no email.
Not even that. And people got their information, visual information about the concerts and about the musicians from my photos. And that was my responsibility. And I took it really seriously because I realized I wanted to take a picture of Jimi Hendrix so that you knew just a little bit, what it might have been like to have been at that concert, at a Jimi Hendrix concert.
Also, the amazing thing you got to think about is, like a lot of people say this to me, like, man, you were lucky. You saw all those concerts when you were growing up, and, like you saw Guns N' Roses, you saw AC/DC with Bon, and you saw Ted Nugent and stuff. At the time, that was such a small world. I said this a couple of days ago. I went to a fairly big junior high. There was only like 8 guys that were into rock. You know what I mean? It wasn't the whole school was into rock. So when you look at, like, when you're shooting, like Hendrix and stuff, of course, to us now, he's iconic. But back then, it was like, you know, Allman Brothers, Hendrix, Grateful Dead, The Who, The Stones, all these bands where it just seemed kind of commonplace. They were all just rocking and it was great, but it wasn't like now you look at it and go, I can't believe you were at fucking Woodstock.
Yeah, well, you know, now you can't get as close to the musicians as you could then.
Nope.
And, you know, I tell people when I shot concerts, I didn't hear what was going on. I saw the music, I didn't hear the music because I had to get the pictures of the musicians in action so that you could...
Your mind's buzzing.
I'm turning off the sound of the music. I did the Jeff Beck group.
Yeah.
They were playing the whole album from Truth. I didn't hear a thing. Out comes the you know, the CD and the vinyl of Truth. I said, that's what I miss, man. That's what they were playing when I was shooting.
It's amazing you say that. Before you go any further, I think that that's what everyone's doing now at the concert. They're not even hearing it. They're just Instagramming. They're fucking periscoping. They all got their phones up. They're not even engaged. You, a professional photographer, of course, and you didn't even hear the concert of one of the greatest of all time. So imagine these guys. They're not even in it.
Yeah, but I had a reason for turning it off. Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. But I'm talking about people that pay $500, $1,000 to be front row, and then they don't even hear the concert because they're more worried about, I got to prove to people I was here. Instagram, you know?
I know, man, I know. I mean, look, digital, social media, I think it's good news and bad news.
Yeah.
You know, the fact of the matter is, people, the young people in particular, the millennials, they're communicating with images more than they can't even spell, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
They don't even know grammar, for Christ's sake.
Yeah. And they don't even like to talk on the phone.
No, they don't. And so what do? They talk with their pictures, they talk with email, they talk with Facebook. With Instagram, I think I'm fascinated with Instagram.
Me too, I love it.
If you look at it carefully, now a lot of your stuff, you're showing stuff that you attended. But there are people who go on Instagram that show you their vision of the world that you would not know otherwise. I look at their Instagram page or whatever you call that thing, and I begin to understand who those people are. And I don't even know them.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm fascinated by the fact that they are actually communicating with images. Now, the problem is they don't know how to communicate with words. On my Instagram thing, I'm always writing a whole paragraph, a little backstory about,
love it.
You know, and that to me is important. It's like, okay, you like my picture. Let me tell you a little bit about how that happened, because you need to know who these people are that I'm photographing and why I photographed them, you know. And I didn't do that at first, but I'm starting to do that now when I put in, especially musician stuff.
Right.
I mean, you know, I met this one girl, musician. I really like her. She's from Canada. I had a show in Canada, and she was sick and couldn't come to the show. She wanted to meet me. So I get home, I get this Facebook message from her. Oh man, I'm really sorry I missed your show, blah, 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 blah. I'm looking, who's this girl? Just send me a Facebook message. I go on her Facebook page. First of all, she's cute, and I'm thinking, okay, well, you passed that test.
Yeah.
Secondly, I start going through, and I realize I listened to her music. Here's this slight, thin girl. She sounded like a cross between Nico and what's her name? What's her name? Smith. You know.
Oh, Patti Smith.
Patti Smith.
Yeah.
I mean, there's this deep throaty voice, and I could tell that girl had soul. There was something about her that just got to me. So I decided I'll communicate with her. Long story short, I said, ever been to Santa Fe? No. Why don't you come to Santa Fe? I'll get you on the radio. In fact, I'll get you a little gig, too, so you can play your stuff. And it turned out to be the most amazing experience.
Wow.
And that was through social media.
Yep.
That mostly is crap. That is mostly bragging, mostly selfies, mostly people saying how cool they are. But if you're careful and you dig deep enough in their Facebook page and in Instagram, you begin to see who they are. That's what I'm saying. that's one of the good things of the digital revolution. One of the bad things of the digital revolution, it screwed every professional photographer there is, because everybody's a photographer. They go out and they buy $10,000 worth of equipment. Hey, I want a photo pass so I can go to the thing. And not only that, they'll say, and the guy will say, "What do you mean you're not a?" They say, "No, I'll shoot for free. You can use the pictures for free." How do I compete with free?
Yeah. It's just like you're talking about the same thing as me making music, and people go, I just want the records free. It's everything around the music biz, except for these fucking prints in here, people think are free.
Well, you know what? That comes from the way they grew up.
Yeah.
And most of the stuff was for free. I met a young kid and he said, "Oh man, you should listen to my collection on my iPad. On my iPod." I said, "What do you got?" And he said, "Oh, I got 20,000, so whatever it is." I said, "Well, how'd you get them? Did you pay for them?" "No, they're free, man. I just went to the library. I downloaded them." I said, "Well, how does the guy who made them, think about this, how does the guy who made those songs, who wrote the songs, who played the songs, how's he supposed to make a living if you're getting them for free?" He says, "Man, I never thought about that." They don't think about it.
They don't think about it at all. And also they have that mentality of like, rock stars are rich, man, fuck them. And they're not rich,
Not anymore.
And they weren't rich for a long time either, because managers and promoters were robbing them.
Well, they were robbing them blind. They had no idea until the honest guys got in there and helped them out.
Yeah, because if you even look at the Woodstock contracts, some guys made like $2,500, like Hendrix, I think, got like $3,500 or something.
No, I think Hendrix might have gotten a little bit more.
But some guys got like $750, $1,000.
But look, really, in his defense, think about this. Michael Lang, the only concert he'd ever produced was a concert in South Florida.
Yeah.
And Hendrix played for him, and he backed up 2 flatbed trucks, backed them up. That was a stage. In a dog racetrack where it rained. I mean, that was his sole experience. And to think that he had the balls to put this thing on.
Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit, because your exhibit here is for Woodstock.
Really, the Woodstock years, because Woodstock was the culmination to me of the promise of the Haight-Ashbury, the promise of the 60s, the promise of peace, love, and music.
Yeah.
Because, listen, there were 300,000 to 400,000 people there, right?
Yeah.
Think about that.
Yeah.
No violence whatsoever.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that?
No.
Not only that, no branded T-shirts.
Yeah.
No Nikes, no Adidas, no Pumas,
No sponsors.
Nothing. No sponsors, no nothing.
No beer sponsor. So it's 69. You're
69.
You're living in San Francisco. You get a call from Rolling Stone. They say, "We want you to go out." How's it work?
No, it didn't work that way. Another photographer who's passed away, Jim Marshall, great photographer.
Love him.
He and I had a book contract that year to do a book called Festival, a book of American music celebrations. We traveled around the country and we went to every fucking festival we could.
The two of
think
you.
He'd go to some, I'd go to some we went to together.
And you were shooting these festivals for a table book?
For a book, a picture book.
Yep.
And when we started out, we didn't even know about Woodstock. We hadn't even heard. Woodstock was not on our itinerary. Right? So when we heard about it, we think, okay, we got to go to this one, man, because there's something special going on here.
Right. How do you hear about it? It was just like, because there's no internet or anything. Was it word of mouth, radio?
It was radio. They ran some ads. They put some stuff on, little posters on telephone poles and stuff.
In San Fran?
The word got around.
Right, yeah, of course.
Trust me, the word got around.
Yeah. I just like to hear it because,
I think I don't
word of mouth is strong back then.
Really
Grassroots.
strong. That's all it was,
Right? Hey, man, I heard there's a concert. It's going to be far out hippies, upstate New York, Woodstock on a farm.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? And you're just walking down 8th Street and you go, yeah, let's go. How are we going to get there? I don't know, but let's go.
That's exactly
and
the way it
fucking
happened.
went.
There were 1 million people who wanted to go who couldn't go, who couldn't get there because of the traffic and shit.
Right.
And I mean, I think Lang, and I love the guy, because we talked a lot about it. He knew he had something good. He didn't know how it was going to sort out. He was prepared to let the fences come down and let the people come in because he knew he didn't want any violence and he didn't want to keep them out.
Right.
If they got there and they were told, hey, you can't come in. No. Here's another funny thing. It rained the day before the opening of the first day of Woodstock.
Are you there? What day did you get there?
I got there the first day, but I got there a little bit after it started. But what happened was they had these ticket booths on wheels.
Yeah.
And they couldn't move them because of the mud.
Oh.
So they couldn't take the tickets. So people were just coming in. They had the tickets.
Yeah.
They'd sold 170,000 already.
Wow.
So they had the tickets, but nobody was there to take them. So there was a debate. What do we tell them? Do we tell 100,000 people who are already there, get out, come back in? And they said, no, we do not. We don't want to riot. We just let they're in, you know.
Right.
And so no tickets were really ever taken. So that's why you can get brand new tickets on eBay,
Yeah.
you know, because nobody was there to take them.
Wow.
But he knew that there was a point that it was going to become a free concert. They sold as many as they could sell, and the people were still coming, and you can't keep them out. And it was my first experience with Woodstock. I'm driving there. I think, oh, hey, it's another concert. I got my press pass. I'm just going to drive, park in the press parking, go up on stage, get my photo pass. Everything's going to be fine. Like I'm 20 miles away from the place, and there's traffic is dead stop.
Wow. 20 miles.
Yeah, and I'm like, there's something going on here. So I look at my AAA map because we didn't have Google Maps in those days.
No.
And I saw that there's a parallel blue road on to the main road into Bethel where it was. It wasn't even in Woodstock. People thought it was in Woodstock. It was only named after Woodstock. It was in Bethel, New York, 60 miles away from Woodstock.
Wow. I never even fucking knew that.
Didn't you know that?
No, I just thought that it was in Woodstock, but maybe like a mile away from the town.
No. Woodstock could not have handled this crowd. You know?
Wow.
So it was in Bethel. So I look at the map. I say, look, there's this parallel road. I'm going to try this parallel because I got to get around these. Otherwise, I'm not going to get there in time.
And are you by yourself or with Jim Marshall?
By myself. Jim was already there, or he got there on his own. And you know what? The parallel road, clear and free.
That's unbelievable.
Nobody on that road at all.
Just think if they had Waze back then. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They'd be like, hey, look at this, man. We can just get here and we're there.
Or even, like Google Maps now, you got a red line and then it shows you, okay, alternate way.
Exactly.
Thank God I had my AAA map. I mean, that was what you had in those days.
Yeah.
And I got there and I walk on the stage, drive up, walk on the stage. What is this?
Now that's a photo behind us is the size of a fucking
It's 10 feet wide.
It's 10 feet wide. It's a bus behind us.
Yeah, and it's this picture of me taken by me on the stage with the widest angle lens I had, which wasn't wide enough.
Right.
Because as many people as you see here were on the left and the right of that photograph. But it was people all the way up to the
It's
very
a straight
top of the
city.
hill. Huh?
It's a straight up city. Now, when you walk up there, are you fucking floored? Like, look at how many people are here.
I just stood there. I stood there.
Yeah.
I mean, shocked with what I saw.
Yeah.
And actually, people say, well, what was your Woodstock experience like? Which of the bands did you like? Well, most of the bands that were on the bill at Woodstock, I had already photographed. So
yeah.
It wasn't for me about the music. It was about these 300,000 people.
Right.
So I spent 3 days wandering among the people, shooting pictures, like that picture of that deal going down over there.
Yeah, you got a picture of a small drug deal going down of like a dime bag of weed.
And the guy's got his money in the you see it happening.
Yeah.
They don't care that the camera's
Which is so dangerous back then, like dealing drugs out in the open like that, daylight.
Yeah, and it wasn't at all. I mean, really, man, I got to tell you, Dean, the idea of peace, love, and music existed at Woodstock. The whole thing culminated that we'd been preaching for months and years. The whole revolution at the time of changing short hair to long hair, of having tattoos, of girls, free love and all that stuff. it came to fruition that weekend.
Right.
And we really did believe that maybe it could happen in a global way.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that weekend ended it.
Yeah, and
And
Altamont said no to that.
Altamont is, everybody said, oh yeah, it ended with Altamont. No, Altamont was a perfect storm. I could tell you stories about Altamont. It was a whole other thing. But
Right.
it wasn't the end of the dream. You know, the dream began to end the moment promoters saw that you could
Money, greed
exactly
was the end.
300,000 people. Think how many tickets we could sell.
Yeah.
All we have to do is get a space. Okay, so then comes Glastonbury, then comes Isle of Wight, then comes Atlanta Pop Festival, then comes,
Greed was the end of the 60s dream.
Listen, man.
Because Lang put this on totally organic. He's not thinking about, I'm going to be rich. He's thinking about, like, I want to bring everyone together and the greatest bands, and let's fucking do something.
That's what Lang said. He said, this is for the people. This is for the tribe. This is for the people who believe what we believe. Let's get them together and give them an experience. And he did. And, he tried a couple more times. I mean, the second Woodstock wasn't bad.
Yeah.
Third one was disaster. Now he's going to have a 50th anniversary concert.
Yes?
Yeah, what he's going to do, he's going to find a place that he can build a permanent venue so that not only will the 50th anniversary concert
It'll be
take
his
place,
venue forever.
It'll be his venue forever. So I said, where are you going to do it, Michael? He said, well, it's got to have good transportation. That's the main thing. Can it be on the East Coast? Well, everybody has to come from the West Coast. Can it be on the West Coast? Everybody has to come from the East Coast. So I think where it's going to be is in Colorado, in the foothills of Colorado, because that's really beautiful. Red Rocks. Have you ever?
Yeah.
Okay, so the possibility, even if it's not there and he has to build something with, but you know what the key to Colorado is, don't you?
Weed.
There you
Boom.
go. Legal.
Weed brings peace.
Legal, man. That's where I think it's going to happen.
Let's talk a little bit about Woodstock. You're there. Are you partaking in any of the brown acid? Are you smoking any of the weed? Are you doing drugs back then, or what are you doing?
I always had the feeling that if I'm getting high, I had to operate. There was no autofocus. There was no auto exposure.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm thinking not a good idea to get high. Jim Marshall, on the other hand, he was totally high, and he still took great pictures.
Wow.
But that's not me.
Right.
I'm thinking, I better stay straight or I'm going to miss something. So, for me, it was just, I was high on the crowd, high on the experience, high on these infinite number of photos that I took. Well, except for the one. And that's when Carlos played. You know the story about Carlos. You know that?
No, what about him?
Okay, so...
You got, now, is Neil Sean's in the band, right?
I don't know. No, Neil Sean was not.
He's not in the band yet.
But that's not the point.
Okay.
The point is, Graham agrees to help Lang get the band, sign the bands, because he didn't have the creds to some degree. So in exchange for that, Graham said, "Look, Michael, you got to put my band," because he was managing Carlos. You got to put him on this on the bill. And they said, "Okay, I'll do that." So Santana and the Grateful Dead were supposed to play late at night. So they show up. They're sitting backstage. Jerry says to Carlos, "Hey man, we don't go on for hours. Let's get high."
Yeah.
So they do some acid. They drop some acid.
Garcia?
Huh?
Garcia?
Jerry Garcia
Yeah.
of the Grateful Dead. So they're sitting backstage, getting high, tripping. Suddenly, they come from the stage and they say, "Carlos, you're on, man. You're on. It's now or never." And he's totally stoned, right?
Whoa, on acid?
On acid.
I never even knew this.
Yeah, so you can find it on YouTube.
Okay, of
He
course,
talks
but-
about it. And so they go on stage and he's saying, "I don't know what I'm doing here." He said, my guitar's like a steel snake. It won't stop moving. I play a tone, it goes out. I hear it through the speakers. It comes back through the amplifiers. I don't know what I'm doing. He said, "I hope I'm playing well, because
Wow.
I'm just playing on autopilot right now." He's totally stoned. Well, we all know what happened. That was the breakthrough concert. Before Woodstock, nobody really knew much about Carlos Santana. I mean, he was just a B-level musician with those kind of bookings, even though Bill Graham was his manager.
Of course.
Played that concert, changed his life forever. And he was stoned, but he played a hell of a concert.
Wow.
You listen to it, you look at it.
Oh, I love it.
Well, look at it on the film, and you'll see that guy's not straight, man. He really is. He said, I looked out at all those 300,000 people. All I saw were teeth and 600,000 eyes looking back at me.
He's just tripping.
He was tripping.
Wow.
But it was a great concert, man.
Now, you shoot Santana, and there's an infamous photo. There's two photos. One of them is Bill Graham behind the Leslie, B3 Leslie, with a cowbell. And the next photo is you sitting behind the Leslie with a cowbell, identical. Does Bill shoot you?
Yeah, here's what happened. I took the picture of Bill playing the cowbell.
Yeah.
He said, Baron, sit down. I want to get a picture of you in the same situation. So I'm sitting there playing the cowbell. Never played cowbell in my life. He gets a better picture of me than I got of him, to tell you the truth.
Wow.
And Carlos is positioned perfect. Right in between those two amplifiers, right? Holy shit, what a picture. And then, here in LA, and it was a while ago, they had a big exhibit at the Skirball Museum.
Yeah, I went to that. It was unbelievable. Those Day in the Green photos.
Did you see the cowbell?
Yeah, I couldn't believe it.
That was the same cowbell that we were playing that night. Yeah.
Insane. And also I saw like somebody's camera bag or something from like Woodstock. It was like a brown leather bag with, I think it was Bill Graham's bag. And it had a bunch of passes on it. It was all crusty. That fucking exhibit, it moved me. I was stunned when I turned the corner and saw Jerry Garcia's Wolf guitar. I just froze. Look, I got goosebumps right now. I just froze because you're looking at a guitar that is so iconic, so iconic.
See, now you see that,
and
I don't know what the fuck you're talking about.
Right.
I mean, that's what I'm telling you. I should have taken music lessons after I got the gig at Rolling Stone, so I knew what I was talking about, I'll tell you a funny story. Steve Miller's got this great compound up in Idaho. I forget what's a ski?
Boise?
Huh?
In Idaho?
Yeah, it's a ski area, whatever that's called.
Boise.
Not Boise. It's beyond Boise. It's northwest.
Like Snowbird or something? What's it called?
One of those places.
Yeah.
Okay, so he builds this beautiful house. He's got a secret door. He says, check this out, Baron. He opens up this door. This collection of guitars.
Oh.
And in a temperature and humidity controlled room, you would die. Now, I don't even know what they are. I should know better, but I don't, but I can tell.
Yeah.
This is a serious collection. Now, he's also into photography. So he built this he says, check out my darkroom. He built this amazing darkroom, temperature and humidity control. He said, come on in. We go in there. You know what he does in his darkroom? The only thing he does in his darkroom?
What?
He stores his Cuban cigars.
Wow. It's a humidor.
Yeah, he hasn't made a picture since the damn thing was built. And his wife is also a photographer. They don't use that anymore.
Now, when you're shooting at Woodstock, or anything, but let's say Woodstock, this isn't the digital age, so what do you got? Do you got 100 canisters of film on you?
Yeah, pretty much. I think I had about 50 rolls, and I think I shot about 35 rolls. I don't know how many rolls. You can see in the book there, all the I don't know if you've seen the
I
Woodstock
did. It was
book,
insane.
And all the contact sheets there. You can see what was going on in my mind.
Wow.
When I saw things. And I missed a lot of stuff, too. I'm telling you. No.
Where'd you sleep while you're there? Just on the ground?
No, get this.
Yeah.
Now, I like 4-star hotels.
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
I like
Me too.
Okay.
I'm not a camper.
I found a motel on that same back road.
No fucking way.
Yes, and I had a room.
No.
So everybody's out there sleeping at night in the tents and in the not sleeping and tripping. And I go back to the motel and get a good night's sleep.
No.
But in the process, of course, I missed some good concerts too. The Who played in the middle of the night. I think the Airplane played in the middle of it. I'm not sure, but
Did you see the infamous Hendrix Day?
no, because I didn't see. This is what I learned after the fact. I had to get my film back to Rolling Stone because they had to, the next issue. So what I didn't realize and what I found out only after the fact is that in Hendrix's contract was an unbreakable clause that he was going to be the last to go on. He was the last act. Michael says, look, we're late.
You're going to have a shitty spot.
There's not just a shitty spot. The people will go home already. It was Monday.
Infamous. That's what they say. Everyone was gone.
Well, not everyone.
I know, but I mean, you know what I mean.
3/4 of them were gone. And that's what happened. He said, nope. I said, I told you it was going to be last. I'm going to be last. And I should, of course, had I known, I would have stayed. But I had a flight. I knew I had to get the film back to San Francisco. That was the story.
As you start to develop the photos, because you're not shooting digital where you see right away what's on the screen. As you start to develop Woodstock photos, are you fucking like losing your mind? Like, look at these photos.
Now here's what I thought. I knew I had some amazing photos.
Yeah.
So I did the contact sheets, and then I just thought, now let's take a look and see which ones I nailed, which surprises are there. You know, I mean, I got pictures of them breaking the fence. I didn't realize this. I got pictures of the people breaking the cyclone fence down to get in free.
Wow.
I didn't know I had taken that.
Wow.
I got great pictures of Grace Slick. She looked so gorgeous in this. She had remember she had this leather.
Yeah. She was rocking back
dress
then,
on.
huh?
I mean, I had pictures of the band. It was raining. They were covered with, I mean.
Yeah. I'm going to go through your book a little bit, and I want to ask you questions about specific photos. The first one I want to talk about was you shot Miles Davis. And when I think about Miles Davis, I don't think about a guy who would drive a Ferrari. But Miles Davis, was that his Ferrari?
That was his Ferrari. He was proud of that Ferrari. He was proud of the fact that he had enough money to buy that Ferrari.
Wow.
Now, the other thing, people said, okay, you're going to go up and shoot Miles. They said, you better be careful. He doesn't like white guys. I said, okay, well.
He didn't like white guys?
That's what they told me.
Right.
He didn't like white guys. And I said, well, I'm going to take a deep breath and see what comes out of it. We got along famously. Now, I had photographed him and his wife, anyhow, Betty Davis, prior to that. So he was inclined. I mean, I'm a nice guy. I can talk about anything, right? Even though I don't know about music, I can have a nice conversation.
Yeah.
So he said, Baron. So after we did some pictures in his apartment and in his flat in New York, I think he might have owned the whole brownstone. He said, Baron, man, you are out of shape, man. We're going up to the gym because he'd go up to the gym 3 times a week and work out.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're going to get in the ring with me, and I'm going to get you into shape, Baron. We go up there, and this is a classic gym. It's Gleason's gym.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, we climb in his Ferrari, and we go up the West Side Highway, and I'm saying, hey, Miles, pull over here. I want to get some pictures of you in the car. Because he was looking so cool. He had these great leather pants on with the zipper right down the front, all the way of the pants leg.
Yeah.
And I wanted to pose him by his car, So he pulled over, we shot some pictures, and we get up there. Gleason's gym, really historically important gym. He starts working out. I start taking a bunch of pictures, Afterwards, I mean, he didn't get me in the ring.
Yeah.
So afterwards, we climbed back into his Ferrari, and I'm shooting, and we're driving through the Bronx, and he's telling me stories, and I'm shooting black and white pictures of him in his Ferrari.
I see that, yeah.
Yeah.
Incredible. This is one of the most iconic photos you take, and I have this postcard you gave me years ago. It's in my house. It's from the Creedence Clearwater live record on the back. I believe it's on the back of the record. Yeah. It's just an incredible photo. You're shooting behind, and Fogerty just has got his arms out. You can see the audience, and it's just a spectacular photo.
See, I always call that photo, that's Fogerty as a musical evangelist. You see how he has his hand out? He's almost like praying and getting the audience to pray with him, right?
Yeah.
Now, there's something else interesting about that photo. If you look closely, the audience is right there on the stage.
Yeah, no security.
Now, the thing about that there was no security, this happened probably 2 weeks after Altamont. Now, you tell me, what did they learn at Altamont?
Nothing.
One of the problems at Altamont was that there was no space between the audience and the stage.
That's crazy. They just keep going with it.
They keep going. But if you look at the faces,
they're all smiling.
And they're all smiling. They're younger. It's a whole different audience, right?
Right.
So that, I mean, in a way, but nevertheless, I don't know who produced that because I don't think Graham did.
Right.
But if Graham had, he would have had a line between, some space between the two of them.
Let's talk a little bit about Frank Zappa. You shot him quite a few times. One is the infamous Zappa photo on his tractor.
On the D7 bulldozer.
Where was that photo taken, and what's it about?
Well, what it's about? Who the hell knows what it's about?
I love it.
I went up to his house. They were living in Tom Mix's old log cabin at the top of Laurel Canyon.
Yeah.
They were renting it. So we go outside, and I'm thinking, oh, I got to take pictures. No, here's what happened. So I go up there with the writer, Jerry Hopkins. Now, usually I let the writer go first, kind of hear what the story's about so I have something to talk about. Get up there, Frank says, okay, let's go out and get the pictures done with. So behind his house, up there on the hill, were all this rusting road grading equipment from a project that failed, but they had left it all up there.
Yeah.
So, and there was this cave. So first thing is he goes into the cave, and he disappears, and he comes out and flashes a weird look at me. And I catch it, and he disappears again. He comes out, and he flashes a weird look at me. Next thing I know, he's climbing up on the tractor, like he's driving it. He has this black coat on.
Yeah. I see it over there. It's great.
Yeah, I mean, and he decides he's going to act like he's driving the tractor. So I'm shooting away. And that's the whole story, man. You know, I mean, I just let Frank be himself. I let Frank be Frank.
Now, you shot a lot of people in the studio, which I love the Neil Young photo of him behind the soundboard. What were some of these guys like? Like when you shoot Jim Morrison, are you talking to Jim? Like, is he telling you stories, or does he come in like, all right, let's do this, and I'm out of here?
I didn't shoot him in the studio. I shot him at a concert, and I didn't get a chance to talk
at
to
the
him.
Golden Gate Park or whatever?
Yeah, it was at Winterland, actually. But with Janice, for example,
yeah,
she'd come over, I don't feel like getting my picture taken. I say, Janice, this is not like going to the dentist. The moment I'd say that, big smile on her face, come on over, and I grab it, you know. Do you see that picture of her over there?
Yeah.
I mean, but she wasn't smiling there. She was looking pretty, like, disgusted there, but not at me, I know. Well, it's like Steven Tyler's flipping me the bird in that one thing.
I love that.
And I say, you know what, that's a sign of affection, because he's flipping me the bird.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm getting the let's wrap it up here, but let's end it here back to Zeppelin. So you shoot the last show of Zeppelin ever plays in the U.S.
Now let me tell you about that.
Yep.
I never liked Zeppelin's music.
Unbelievable.
So I don't know who the hell I was shooting.
Yeah, that is insane. You're telling me that.
I know, and I haven't told Jimmy that, because we become friends subsequently, right?
Right.
But I just saw these guitars, and I thought, that is a very cool shot. I've got to get this shot.
Yeah.
And then I saw he was wearing that dragon outfit.
The dragon outfit.
I said, I got to shoot this. This is a very cool outfit, you know. And I didn't shoot John Paul. I didn't know who the hell he was. You know? I didn't take any pictures of him, but I did Robert Plant, because Robert Plant was cool and everything. So here I am, no idea what I'm doing. Turns out to be very iconic photographs, right?
Oh.
I mean, listen, Dean.
It's the last shows they ever play in the U.S., 1977.
That was the last shot, but it was more. The thing is, I was very blessed with this opportunity to shoot all these bands. I mean, whether I knew who I was shooting or not, I tried to make really good pictures, and try to dignify the bands and the musicians that I shot.
Yeah.
And I look at the collection, and I think I did a pretty good job of, really, man, of treating them as very special, talented people. You know, and I hope people come and see this show, because you'll see what you and I have been talking about.
It's unbelievable. Your
really
stuff blows my mind. Hey, I got a photo from you of Mick Jagger's birthday in '78 at Dan the Green. That's his birthday. Those photos are in my mind every day. I think about those photos.
Okay, one last story, and then we got to quit.
Yep.
When Zappa was dying, because he had prostate cancer, and it was a long death, there was a guy I know who was there taking care of him. And Frank had a grand or a baby grand piano in his house, and he had a few things on that piano, one of which was that photo of him on the tractor.
Right.
And he said to this guy, this is the story. I mean, he never told me. He said, of all the pictures that anybody's ever taken, that's the one I like best.
Wow.
And that kind of summed up to me what I did when I was shooting rock and roll. Hey, man, it was great talk. It's always great talking.
Dude,
we got to do this more often.
I absolutely love you, and anytime you're in town, I'll have you on the show because this is way too short. I usually do hours. I really, really can't tell you how much your photos mean to me. And I've emailed you late night many times saying, dude, I need all your photos. I mean, if I was rich, my whole house would be covered in the Dan the Green photos.
It would probably look like this.
It would look just like this, but only Dan the Green.
Yeah.
Because I just love what you caught, and I'm glad you're still with us. I know you said you had a little problem with your vocal cords, and I'm just so happy you're here, and I'm fired up for this show. Once again, how long will the show be here?
I think it'll be here a month.
A month.
Or 3 weeks or a month.
A month? How long will the show be here? September 6th it ends. And they can come in anytime. They'll be hung up in here. Sunset Strip, what's the address? 7420 Sunset. Yep, and this guy's photo, he not only does he have Baron, but he has all kinds of famous photographers in here, and he's been selling rock photography. I've been driving up Sunset for years, looking at the Eddie Van Halen jumping in the air for probably a good 10 years. It's a spectacular place, and you better bring your wallet, man, because
or your credit card.
Or your credit card, because you're going to want to buy everything in here. And it's not just rock. They've got other styles of photos in here, all these Baron Wolman photos of people at Woodstock. So it's amazing. And there's a Clash photo here that knocks me out. So come down here, and thank you, Baron, and I'm looking forward to the show tomorrow night.
Great, Dean. You're going to be here tomorrow, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
I'm bringing
Bring
some
your friends.
rock star friends.
Okay.
Thank you, guys. See ya.